All right. So, welcome in. I am Coach Nye. I am the coach that is going to save the world. That's what I always say. I'm the coach that's going to save the world. How do I save the world? By teaching you how to heal. And so, in any platform that you meet me at, I'm going to be teaching some type of leadership course. And for this one, this was supposed to be a podcast. I was going to do a visual podcast for Lead Her Movement, for the Lead Her Movement, which is I'm the host of, right? And I was going to do a podcast for it. Instead, I'm just going to do live on YouTube because that teaching is for everyone. And I think I'm going to do it every Sunday. So we're testing it out today and I'm going to get started. So this series that I'm teaching is about women of the Bible, standing in purpose, leading with grace. That's what it's about. Us standing in purpose and standing in power, and leading with grace. It is so important for us as women to understand and know our own worth and know our power, right? So if you're standing in power and you're leading with grace, that means that you're operating in your purpose. So that's what I teach. That's what I want to build other women, because we go through so much in life when it's just being a wife, being a mother, being a friend, being a sibling, being the one that everyone goes to, but no one ever checks on you. So that's what my whole Lead Her movement is about, me helping you find the leader that's within you. So that's the important part. So we're going to get into it and get started. I got my notes up. And so today's class, and that's how I'm going to break it down in classes. So today's class this is class 1, Deborah. Deborah, leading with authority and discernment. Deborah was such an incredible leader, right? As a woman in those times, right? So leadership in those times for a woman, that it wasn't heard of. But Deborah, and that's what shows us that God will. It doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like. It's what God wants, right? Whoever He chooses to lead or take on the role that He needs them to take on. That's the purpose. That's your purpose. I'm getting my notes pulled up. It was already pulled up. Okay, so Deborah, class 1, Deborah, leading with authority and discernment. So our opening verse is going to be of Psalms, right? It's going to be Psalms 78-72. And that is, He shepherded them with integrity of heart. With skillful hands, He led them. Okay? So that's what I want you guys to hone in on that. And I want you to go back to it. Everything I do, I always give homework. So follow me. And all the homework is about you self-healing. That is all of Lead Her movement is all about, in Trinity of Fitness Boot Camp is all about, is learning how to, hey, how are you? Is learning how to heal the inner child that's within you and rebalance yourself. It's kind of like a self-regulation. So I teach leadership courses. So I want you guys to go back to Psalm 78-72, right? So this verse highlights King David's dual leadership qualities and his upright character, his integrity, and his competence, which is his skill. And it is applied to his shepherding of God's people, often seen as a model for what? Leadership. That's what we talk about. So this primary scripture is going to be Judges 4-5. That's the primary scripture. So you guys, your downtime, just go ahead and read over it. So in the book of Judge, chapters 4-5. Let me get this out the way because I got my screen going here. Let me move it over here right now. I'm sorry, guys. So here we go. In the book of Judges, chapter 4-5, Israel was being oppressed by a king, right? By the king Jabin. So Jabin, you can call him, some people say Jabin, some people say Jabin, okay? And the meaning of that name is meaning wise. So that king the meaning of his name was wise. And his army commander was Sisera, right? And God raised up who? Who we talking about today? Which is Deborah, a prophetess and a judge, to lead Israel. Now, this is a woman in this time. A woman in this time leading. So that's what I want women to understand, that it doesn't matter where you are. It's the calling that's within you. Are you ready to stand firm? Are you ready to stand up in that? So he raised up Deborah, which is a prophetess, right? and a judge to lead Israel. She instructed Barak now to gather an army and fight Sisera. And when he got that army together, it was 10,000 of us. She instructed Barak, which is the lead of the army. She instructed him to go get this many people and basically telling him how to win the war. So I'm just giving an overview right now before we get into the teaching. So Barak agreed and to get the army to go fight. But Barak agreed. He said, okay, I will go only if you go. I'll go fight these people only if you go. That's how strong and powerful Deborah was. She was very humble. This is the leadership in Deborah. She was very humble. She knew who buttered her bread, pretty much, God. She knew that she was only doing what God told her to do and nothing more, nothing less. That was it. That's it. What God told her to do. So she went in and she instructed Barak to get the army to fight. Now, God gave Israel victory in the battle. Now, he gave them a big victory in the battle, but before they went, she told Barak, she said, hey, you know, if I go with you, I will take the credit for this. I'm going to take the credit for this. I'm going to take the credit of a woman taking the credit of winning the war. That's what she said. But he didn't care. He did not care. So God gave Israel victory in battle. And then Sisera, he fled into the tent, which was, wait a minute, how do you pronounce this? I want to pronounce it the right way. Yael. Now, I break it, I always go into how do you pronounce it, because some of these names in English, of course, we'll say jail, but it's Yael. So who killed Sisera, who killed Sisera while he slept, what happened? That was fulfilling Deborah's prophecy. After the victory, Deborah and Barak sang a song. Now, in this song, I think it's Judges 5. I believe it's 5, where it's a song, it's a poem, it's her song, it's a battle song that helped in the battle. And they called out to all those who refused to help, right? They talked about all those different people. So overall, Judges 4 and 5 tell the story of Deborah leading Israel to victory and then celebrating the victory in a song that honors courage, obedience, leadership, and those who stepped up to help. Okay, those who stepped up to help. So the role and leadership context of this is knowing that Deborah was a judge, a prophetess, a military leader, and led Israel during a time of male passivity. Now, what does that really mean? Meaning a state of being inactive, submissive, or lacking initiative, often rooted in fear. So because Barak he feared so much, that is why he went to Deborah like, hey, only if you go, I'll go. So it also teaches balanced spiritual authority with strategic wisdom. That's what she represents. So when you think of Deborah, that's what you have to think about. You have to think about what all did she embody? When she was present, what did she embody? What made her her? What made her so special? What made God pick her? What about her? She was born for it. It was destined for her to do that. It was her purpose, right? So the Hebrew and the scholar context, I like to get a little deep so you can get a full understanding of it, is Deborah is called Neviah. That's in Hebrew. That's what she's called, which is a prophetess or a woman endowed by God. Now, in Sophatia, that means she's a judge or she governs. Those are the different names of how they pronounce it in Hebrew. And so it indicates spiritual authority and civic leadership. That's what it represents. Her leadership emerges during a time of male passivity, as we just talked about, revealing that God raises leaders based on obedience, not gender or title. So it doesn't matter who you are, God can use you. A lot of us, especially women, we feel like, well, we done too much, or, we done poured so much into everyone else. What about us? We forget about us. And the whole time, even in those relationships and those friendships and the times that you're getting done wrong or mistreated, God is using you for a reason. It's just that you have to stand up as that leader. You have to become that leader. And so the Song of Deborah, which is in Judges 5, as we talked about, is one of the oldest Hebrew poems, reinforcing her authority as both a leader and a theologian. That's what it represents her for, right? So I want to break down her leadership skills. What did she display? I want to look at the pros and cons of it before we get into the teaching of it. The pros of it is discernment and decisiveness. Yes. Confidence in God's voice. Delegation without insecurity, and courage to lead publicly. That's what it is. To be a leader, those are all the type of things that you have to embody. You have to be fearless. I'll talk about that on, that's the next episode tomorrow on the power within that I will be teaching. But you have to you have to really stand strong in who you are and believe who you are. That's what you have to do. So the cons of that, because the risk of others depending on her strength instead of developing their own. So the risk of that was they could have been, Barak could have looked at her always instead of going to God. They could have dismissed God and went straight to her. That could have been, of the leadership. But because of everybody stayed in obedience on whatever it's supposed to do, and she stayed in her lane, once she stayed in her lane and she did what she was supposed to do, she knew how to step back, disconnect, do what she needed to do. So the risk of it would have been people depending on her instead of God, and developing their own strength. So we're going to jump into leadership begins with hearing God clearly. That's number one. Let's talk about number one. So number one is leadership begins with hearing God clearly. So one of the most important foundations of biblical leadership is the ability to hear and discern the voice of God. That is the foundation of biblical leadership, is the ability to hear and discern the voice of God. Deborah's leadership did not begin with a position or title. It began with spiritual sensitivity. Judges 4:4 describes Deborah as both a prophetess and a judge, which means she had cultivated a relationship with God that allowed her to discern his directions for the people. In Hebrews culture, a prophet was not simply someone who predicted the future. A prophet was someone who stood close enough to God to hear his voice, to relay his will. The Hebrew word used for prophet was neviah, as we talked about, which implies one who speaks on behalf of God. Deborah's authority was built on her ability to listen first and act second. Many people want to lead before they learn how to listen. But biblical leadership begins in stillness, discernment, and alignment. With God's direction, Deborah did not create her own plan for Israel. She received divine insight and then moved in obedience. That's how that went. Okay, let me make sure I can get this right. Well, let me get you. Okay. And hold on, let me get all this right. Okay. All right. So she received divine insight and then moved in obedience. So moving in obedience. That is the most important thing when it steps into leadership, when you're operating and you're leading from a place of purpose. When God gives you your mission and tell you what you need to do, you need to take the next step, and the next step is to move in obedience. This teaches us something powerful, which is clarity. Clarity comes from connections. Leaders who are disconnected spiritually often lead from emotion, pressure, or ego. But leaders who spend time listening to God lead with wisdom, timing, and restraint. Okay? So Psalms 25:9 reminds us that God guides the humble. Humility is essential for hearing God because humility quiets the ego. When we humble ourselves, we make space for God's voice. Do you know a lot of times what happens in our life is we say we can't hear God. We feel like we're alone. We feel like God is not around. And it's because we have so much of everything else going on in the world, in our mind. We're doing so much of everything else, trying to focus on this, trying to focus on the next person. We're doing all these different things. And it's keeping us from hearing God's voice. The world is much louder than what God's voice is. So it's learning how to, especially as a leader, you have to learn how to step back, right? And disconnect yourself from the world. Get away from your emotions, get away from all the things that's going on outside in the outside world, and step into your leadership position, which is being selfless. So Psalms 25:9, this verse emphasizes that God provides direction to those with a humble, teachable spirit, leading them in righteousness and his will. This verse highlights that humility rather than pride is the key to receiving divine guidance and understanding. So when you get some time, go back and look over Psalms 25:9. So practical leadership applications. So this is in modern leadership. Hearing God clearly means creating intentional time to seek wisdom before making decisions. That part. Seek God before making decisions. I think a lot of us, we think we hear God's voice, but I want you to understand the loudest voice within you. The loudest voice within you is that inner child is the loudest voice. The one that's telling you, yeah, go ahead, do it. And you're just like, okay, God, thank you. Baby, the loudest voice is that child. Thank you so much. Is that child that's inside of you, that unhealed child. God's voice is very silent. Well, not silent, but quiet. It's a very low, soft voice. It's a calm feeling of when God speaks to you, it's a calming feeling. So that's how you need to understand of hearing God's voice. So in modern leadership, hearing God clearly means creating intentional time to seek wisdom before making decisions. This includes prayers, reflections, studying scripture, and being open to connections. Leaders who rush decisions without discernment often create confusion for the people they lead. Deborah leadership teaches that discernment must come before directions. When we listen well, we lead well. Now, as a woman, this is what this whole class is about, is women in leadership, right? So we're talking about Deborah, how, she influenced and how she led Israel, right? But as a leader, that's the whole purpose of my teaching, is to teach you how to become the best leader that God needs you to be, right? In your purpose, operating in your purpose, you have to understand who you are. You have to be comfortable with yourself. You have to be comfortable with the task. God will never give you a task and expect you to perform and be perfect in it, just like that. No. He knows that it's going to take time, because now you have to be comfortable with that thing. When you're operating in purpose, you have to be comfortable with that thing. If you're not comfortable with it, then what? You're going to fumble, stumble, and then it'll cause you to stray away. That's why he give it to you in, as I say, in stairs, leading you up to the staircase, right? You don't just build the staircase. You have to start with the stairs first. So that's how it is. And that's how God will build, and that's how God will build you up in a leadership position. So never force yourself. And even in your business, God give you an idea to open your business, and you open your business, right? A lot of people think that that's it. It's going to boom just like that because God gave me the idea. No, it's steps to it. Because now he needs you to be comfortable with who you are, because the people that's going to come, the people that he's going to bring for you, right? The people that's going to buy your product or buy into whatever it is that you have to be confident in that, because if you don't know how to lead yourself, then how can you lead others? So in modern time, as we talked about, leadership is hearing God clearly. Deborah leadership skills teaches us that discernment must come before direction. When we listen well, we lead well. So I want to ask you guys this, and you can put it in the chat if you want to, or you can write it down and come back to it later. I want to ask you, think about the last major decision you made. Did you pause to seek God's guidance, or did you move quickly based on pressure or emotions? Right? So let's get into number two. Authority flows from obedience, not position. Deborah held authority not because she demanded it, but because she demonstrated obedience to God. In Judges 4 verses 6, Deborah sends for Barak and delivers God's instructions with confidence. See, she was confident when she said it. I need you to understand why I said specifically with confidence. Because back in those times, women were supposed to be what? Do your job. You're not supposed to be seen or heard. Tell it to your husband. Don't tell it to us. But in this time, in this era, she was a judge. She was a prophetess and well respected. So when she delivered this message, she was confident in it because she know who she is and who she is. And so when she delivered that message with him with confidence, she didn't hesitate. She didn't apologize, and she didn't dilute the message. A lot of us, when God give us a message, we kind of want to cater to everybody. We don't want to hurt nobody's feeling. She spoke clearly because she knew the instruction came from God. So what if God told you to do something, right? And you took that and you said, okay, God, I'm going to go do it. Okay, I'm going to tell Coach Nye, God said, do a podcast instead of YouTube. But you come to Coach Nye and say, well, I just think, you're doing really good and everything. Maybe you should try a podcast. You're doing really good. Whichever one you want, you do it. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. When you are in purpose, when you're in your leadership position, you step out boldly because you know whose you are, right? You know who's buttering your bread. You know who gave you the message. God will not put you into a leadership position until he know for sure you know his voice. How can you lead others if you can't lead yourself? Meaning that if you can't hear when God is talking to you, then how are you going to hear when God is talking to somebody else? Huh? What you going to say? I think that was God. No, you'll be like everybody else that say, something told me not to go that way. Something told me to come up to you and pray. Something told you'll never just go fully and say, hey, I need to pray for you. No, you'll have to explain. You have to be confident in what God tell you to do. That's it. Okay? So this revealed a powerful truth about leadership. True authority is spiritual before it is structural. True authority is spiritual. It happens in the spiritual realm first before it happens in the physical. So many people believe authority comes from titles. I like this one. Titles, positions, or recognition. No. But in God's kingdom, authority flows from alignment with God's will. What is God's will? That's where it flows from. You guys, if y'all new here, thank you. This is my first time going live here on YouTube. I usually do it on my my one service so I can hit all the platforms, but I wanted to come directly to YouTube and teach this. This was a class that I wanted to teach on my podcast, but I'm going to go live every Sunday on YouTube and teach this class. This is all about women in the Bible and their leadership. So if you guys subscribe, thank you. And if this is your first time joining, come on in. Every platform that you see me on, I'm teaching. So don't worry about it. You'll get some kind of teaching. Get you a notebook every time you come to class. So Jesus himself demonstrated this principle. In John 5:19, Jesus explained that he only does what he sees the Father doing. His authority came from obedience. It came from obedience. So Deborah's story shows that when a leader walks in obedience, others recognize that authority. The people of Israel sought Deborah. They sought her out because why? They trusted her discernment and integrity. She did not chase influence. Influence followed her faithfulness. Okay? Influence is going to follow. Now, let me explain something. I'm going to put a pin in that before we jump into the next thing. So, being a leader, well, I always tell people, be yourself. Be yourself. Don't try and be anybody else. Don't try and copy how someone else is doing. Be yourself. Because that's what God created you to be. So the people that he needs you to lead need to see you in your fullness. See, in your fullness, then I can relate to you. I can't relate to you if you're being someone else. You have people that's so busy and so focused on being someone else, they forget who they are. They don't even know how to be themselves. But as a leader, you have to stand in who God created you to be. Who did he create you to be? This is who he created you to be. So be that person, because the person that he created you to be, you have to heal people that he's going to send your way, that you've been through the same thing you've been through. Your testimony got a testimony just like yours. That time when you like, God, why am I going through this? I did everything right. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with here in a couple of years, you're going to run into somebody that's going to be in that same predicament, and I need you to lead them right. So Deborah's story, as we talked about, shows that when a leader walks in obedience, other recognizes that authority. This challenges many modern leadership models. Today, people often pursue titles, as we talked about, first, and character later. I want to be known as this, but my character, oh well, I don't care. As long as you know me as this, but my character is flawed. My character, right? So they pursue the title first and character later. But scripture teaches that character is the foundation of authority. Character is the foundation of authority. Yes. Character is the foundation of authority. So if you be yourself, I don't care what you do. I don't care how you talk, how you speak. Be yourself. You can't heal something if you don't know it needs to be healed. If I'm not being myself, then how do I know that I need to heal something? How do I know if something is a trigger? How can you self-heal, or how can you identify things? No, you'll always be the one that say, oh, it ain't me, it's everybody else. It's not me, it's everybody else. You'll always be that person. We don't want to be that person no more. We want to heal. That's what the Lead Her movement is all about, healing, stepping into leadership, becoming the best version of yourself. So obedience also requires courage. Sometimes God calls leaders to say or do things that may not be popular or comfortable. Baby, when I say I don't be liking it, I be wanting to tell God, come on now, can you give me something else? That's so uncomfortable. God, do I have to say it like that? And then that's when I want to water it down, right? But God gives it to you, right? Because you're the right person for the job. Let's talk about it. You're the right person for the job, meaning that you may feel uncomfortable, and it may not be a popular opinion. It may not, but you are the right person to approach that person that's going through it, because you have the mannerism for it. You may feel uncomfortable, but you are the right person for it. Just trust the process. Deborah's obedience required her to confront military leaders and deliver instructions that required faith and risk. So to pull all of what we just learned for number 2 is leaders who pursue position without obedience often become controlling and insecure. But leaders who pursue obedience develop confidence because they know their direction comes from God. I'm confident in what I do because I know what I'm doing comes from who? Source, God. So when a leader obeys God consistently, their credibility grows naturally. Let's talk about that. Now, I talk about this a lot on TikTok. I got a bigger following on TikTok, and I decided to come over to YouTube, right? I really want YouTube to be more of my home where I do my teaching, and I teach them because a lot of people look for that, viral moment. Everybody want to go live. Everybody, not live, but everybody want to go viral. Everybody want a bunch of followers. Everybody want this and they want that. And I always tell them, like, when you operate, don't look for the followers. Don't look for the viral moment. Don't look for the money. Don't worry about the money. Do the job. See, when you do the job, everything will come to you. Your credibility will grow naturally, meaning people will start trusting you. People will look at you like, well, wait a minute. Hold on. I like that. I trust that. If she been through that and she got over it, I trust that I can get through it. Do you understand? So just be consistent. Don't worry about the outcome and don't worry about the next person. Just be consistent in what God told you to do in your leadership position. You don't have to be a manager. You don't have to be a supervisor. You just be what? A leader in whatever, and steward whatever God gave you, whatever your purpose is. You steward that. That's it. Did you know that's your only job? That is our only job here on earth. That is it. Listen, God, we were born on purpose, in purpose, for a purpose. That was our only purpose, is to do what God needed us to do. That's it. And when you start looking at it like that, you'll understand that, wait a minute. All this I'm stressing about, I want this and I need this in my life and I don't have this. You're stressing about all those things. But when you really look at what was the purpose of you being here, is to do God's will, whatever he have you to do, that's it. Everything else is okay. Your needs, listen, your wants, those are your wants. The desires of your heart, God will bless you with those as long as you're in alignment with what he has going on. But your needs will be met because he has to clothe you, feed you, put a roof over your head, because he needs you to do a work. So the things that we stress about, and I know I'm getting a little bit off topic, but the things that we stress about in life, we shouldn't be stressing about, because it's guaranteed for us. Women, what do we always say? God, I just want a man that's going to do right. I want a man that's going to take care of me. I just want a man. I just want this, that, But you're praying for something that you're already destined to have. It's just in the timing that it needs to come. You have to go through a process. And the process is getting you to that, getting you out of survival mode, because that's what you were born into. You were born into a world of survival mode, and getting you back to your true authentic self. And your true authentic self is who God called you to be. That's what we got to get you, right? So that was the main part of that. So when a leader obeys God consistently, as we talked about, their credibility grows naturally. So I want to ask you this question. You can put it inside of the comments if you want. Have you ever felt God prompting you to do something, but fear, maybe you hesitated, right? What might have happened if you trusted the instructions? What might have happened if you just stayed the course? What might have happened? That's what I want you to ask yourself. What might have happened if you would have just trusted the process or the instructions? Okay? So now we're going to jump into leaders. Number 3, leaders activate others. They do not replace them. This is one of the biggest things. Even when I served in the military, this was one of my biggest things. As a leader, I never operate from a place of out of my emotions, right? I'm never going to lead from my emotions. I would always have to take a break, because I'm telling you, them soldiers will make you, have you like. But I realized that when I act out of emotions, I'm actually getting out of character. I'm becoming somebody that I'm not. So next time that you feel the need to act out of emotions, just remember, you're becoming someone that you're not. No one can force you to be that way. This is how you identify triggers. If you cause me to feel a type of way, I'm going to acknowledge it. I use my RPI method. My RPI method that I created is to acknowledge, release, practice, enter, explore, and empower. I check myself with all those things, right? I acknowledge what the problem is, and I see what it is, and I stop. Because the more you feed into it and you sit around nonsense, right, the more it's going to trigger you. So to defeat those triggers and to calm those triggers, what you do is step back. You don't need that. You're healing. The whole purpose of healing is to get you back to what? Your true authentic self. No more survival mode. So leaders activate others. They do not replace them. Iron sharpens iron. If they're not sharpening your iron, why are you around them? You are not in charge of sharpening everybody's iron and no one pours into you. No, that's not how that goes. So as a leader, you have to identify that, hey, if I'm around this person and they're not sharpening my iron, what is that going to do to my leadership skills? What is that going to do? It's going to dull your leadership skills. You'll stay stuck and stagnant. You will not be able to lead the flock or lead anyone, because now you're trying to figure out who you are now. So one of Deborah's greatest leadership strengths was her ability to activate others rather than control everything herself. Delegating authority, pretty much. To activate others. She said, Barack, come here, get your people. This is what you need to do. This is what God said you need to do. She didn't say, Barack, when he said, well, If you go, I'll go. And she didn't say, no, you know what, forget it. Because most women, that's what we do, right? As soon as our husbands say, or our kids, when they hit us with when we tell them to get the dishes out the dishwasher, whatever it is, and they like, huh? Wait a minute, you want me to put it here? Well, where does this go? Nah, I do it myself. Because Deborah knew how to get it done. That's why Barak said, come with me, please. If you go, I'll go. Because I know if I go, I'm coming back home, because God favors you. So therefore, he's going to favor the mission. You see how Barak put so much trust in her and none in God, but God already knew that. That's why he sent Deborah. Because it was more than just him. It was his people that he needed to make sure was good. Barak, you sitting here, you worrying about something, but it's the people that's behind him and the generations to come that is going to be affected, because God knew that he wasn't going to, that Barak wasn't confident enough in defeating the war. But Barak put all his faith in Deborah. Deborah put all her faith in God. Women, your husband put all their faith in you, and you put all your faith in God. They tell you, I don't want to go to church, but pray for me. Well, what you mean? You're supposed to be the head of the house. So next time you do that, say like Deborah did. You know, if I do that, that means that I'm in charge of this house. I'm in charge. Because what she told Barak is, you know that if I go, then it's going to say a woman won the war, is in charge, led Israel. She led him. So just say that to him. No, don't say that to him. That's not nice. But listen. So let's get into it. So one of her greatest things was that she activated others rather than trying to control everything herself. Now, in Judges 4, verses 6 through 9, Deborah calls Barak and gives him the instruction God has revealed. We talked about that. She does not attempt to lead the army herself. Instead, she empowered another leader to step into his role. That's what leaders do. We don't just lead and have subordinates. We lead to develop other leaders. Women, that is what you do. Listen, if you want change in this world, it starts with us, right? Now, men, even with them, what I'm saying, it starts as an individual. It starts with us. You make the change and people will see it. Because now that I made a change within myself, right? I chose to heal. I chose to go through the process. And then what it caused me to do, create programs, courses, classes. It taught me to teach others, right? The lessons that I went through in life taught me how to lead others. So now I'm developing other leaders by teaching you guys what leadership is, how to believe in yourself, what is self-love, what is healing. That's what I teach. So everything, she empowered another leader to step into his role. I'm empowering you to step into your role. This is a critical lesson for leaders today, because strong leaders do not try to do everything themselves. They recognize that leadership is about multiplying strength through others. I can't do it alone. I said I'm going to be the coach to save the world. And I mean that. I'm a coach that's going to save the world. Now, how am I going to save the world? I asked that when I was a kid, when God told me that I was going to be like of the world, like save the world. And I'm thinking like, am I going to like Mother Teresa? I mean, what am I going to be like? God, I still be out here cussing. What is that? I'm still doing stuff that ain't right. How I'm going to say Mother Teresa was. Then I realized, wait a minute. Who said I was going to be like Mother Teresa? I had to go through the process. I had to learn how to stop having that potty mouth. I had to learn how to have healthy conversations. I had to learn these things. And once I learned those things, now it's time for me to show. How do I save the world? By teaching other people how to heal. That's how you do it. Multiplying the strength in others. Now, a controlling leader creates dependence, but an empowered leader creates growth. As I said, for me, I develop other leaders. That's my job. I'm not trying to have a bunch of followers. Yeah, I got followers. Let me explain something to you. I can have 150,000 followers on each platform. On each of my platforms, you're going to get something from me, meaning that I'm going to pour into you. You're not just going to follow me just to watch me win. I'm pouring into you. The reason why you're following me is because I'm pouring into you. That is the thing. I can't have a channel, right? I have a channel and I'm showing you how good my life is. And then I tell you, hey, buy my ebook so you can see how good my life is. That's not what God told me to do. God told me to get on here and teach about leadership, teach about different things. I'm teaching you different things. That is the way I pour into you. That's it. So what I thought I would be doing and what I'm actually doing, totally different. But I'm so grateful and blessed. So Deborah could have easily taken control of the military situation because she has spiritual authority. She could have just ran off. As they say, most women, you put them in charge and they take over. Yes, not really, but it's kind of true in some situations. I mean, if you can't do it, then I guess I got to do it. But she didn't. But she did not. She understood that God had called Barak to lead the army. Her role was to release the word and activate the leader who was assigned to carry it out. That was her only job. She understood that. And she was okay with that. But unfortunately, Barak, he was hesitant. He asked Deborah, what? Can you go with me? Can you imagine a man in those times going to a woman and being open and showing that, hey, I have fear? Showing his fear. He showed his fear. He showed that I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be right. I don't know. God, is this? And she got to see the fear in him. Can you imagine a man humbling himself in front of a woman? If you go, I'll go. I know what God said. I don't trust God. Basically, what he said is, I don't trust God. I trust you. No. Mm-mm. So, this moment revealed that what? Another leadership lesson. Sometimes people need reassurance when stepping into responsibility. Deborah went with him, but she made it clear the ultimate victory would go to what? It would not belong to him. And he needed to be okay with that. So Barak knew that once it was over with, don't stand up beating your chest talking about some I did, look at me. She made that very clear. Do you understand? But see, God knew what he was doing when he used Deborah. He knew that Barak would be scared. This is the way that God was breaking barriers for women. He was breaking down walls for women. He was basically in that time showing men that, hey, I can use my strongest women to do the same thing that I called you to do. Just to let you know, if you choose not to do it, I have a woman that will step up and do it. We're just as strong. So in organizations and teams and communities, leaders must learn to delegate responsibility and trust others with meaningful roles. Leadership becomes unhealthy when one person tries to control every outcome. And that's how I lived my life for a long time. For a long time, I lived my life of, I'll do it myself, I'm good. I'll do it myself, I'm good. That's how I lived my life. And living my life that way, it caused me to always be overworked, stressed out, crying, worried, got so much going on, overwhelmed. But healthy leadership asks the question, who else can grow through this opportunity? Who else can grow through it? Leaders develop leaders. When leaders empower others, the entire community grows. The entire community grows. So I want you to ask yourself, do you tend to carry everything yourself, or do you intentionally develop others around you? That's something to ask yourself. Really sit with that. Really sit with that. And then our last one, number 4, godly leaders speak clearly and move boldly. Deborah's leadership was marked by clarity and boldness. When she delivered God's message to Barak, she did not soften the instruction or speak with uncertainty. She communicated with conviction because she trusted the source of the message. Clarity is one of the most important leadership qualities. When leaders are unclear, people become confused. Confusion leads to hesitation. Hesitation can prevent progress. So Deborah demonstrated that clear communication builds confidence among followers. So boldness does not mean arrogance. This is what I need you to understand. Boldness does not mean arrogance. Biblical boldness comes from faith and trust. Trusting in God's guidance. Proverbs 28:1 says, the righteous are bold as lion. This type of boldness is grounded in righteousness and obedience. Deborah's boldness was challenged with cultural norms, of her time, of her time. Cultural norms of her time. It was not for women to just stand up and say, hey, God said this and go do it. And people believed. Or like Barack went to her and basically was like, listen, I'm scared. I'm scared. I ain't got no confidence. I don't need the men to know that. I'm just telling you. And she still stepped up. So in a society where leadership was typically male dominant, she stood firmly in her role because she knew God had called her. He called her for that. Her courage reminds us that obedience sometimes requires standing apart from expectations or traditions. That's all that means. Godly leaders speak truth even when it's uncomfortable. That they provide direction even when others are uncertain. And they move forward with courage because they trust that God is guiding their steps. So when God called you into leadership, when he called you into purpose, when you have your Lazarus moment and he called you to the front of the tomb, but it is time for you to step into your purpose of what he called you to be, you have to be bold with it. I didn't say be like most people. Most people, they hear God's voice and they say, God told me to do this. And they go out with this arm fist and they just go and, reprimanding everybody, and you going to hell and you going to hell and you going to hell and you. And no. That's not what boldness is. Boldness means when God tells you to do a thing or speak a thing, it's not about you beating on your chest, sticking your chest out and say, God said, and my God don't play about me, because y'all know how y'all love to do it. My God don't play about me. God said, girl, go have a seat. And the reason why I need you to have a seat is because you're going off your own understanding. 9 times out of 10, when you go and it causes conflict, when you speak something to someone and it doesn't sit well with them and now y'all conflicting, don't hide behind God and say, God said this and God got... No. See, God give us the people that we need to talk to. Sometimes y'all folks don't know how to mind y'all business. You go and see that person that you just caused conflict with because you went and told them that that's not of God, right? And it probably wasn't of God, but it wasn't your job to go over there. See, God built you for leadership to go over here and speak to those people because they understand your language. They're not going to take it with aggression. See, he said deal with them gently. So the person that was for them, that was going to come to them, God created a person just for them to help lead them and get them in the right direction. What you did was cause more conflict. A lot of us leaders, we have to take accountability of where did we go wrong? Whenever you relay a message and you're bold with it, doesn't mean beating your chest. It means that you're confident in saying it. God told me to teach a leadership course. So if someone tells me that, hey, you shouldn't be teaching leadership, that is quite all right. There's no conflict between me and you because you're not in charge of me. I know who told me what I needed to do. I'm going to continue on with my task. My task is not to go improve my self-worth or prove to people what God called me to be and do. Do you understand? Amen. So the same way with you guys. If God tell you to do something, be confident in it. You don't have to turn up your nose. You ain't got to do all this. What do they do now? This little thing right here and all these little different things. Listen, I like to have a good time, so y'all will get to see my personality as I come more on YouTube to teach. But, you don't have to do all. You just have to be who you are. Because the people that God have for you is going to come to you. Your audience, you have your own audience. You just got to know when to use your voice. You have your own audience. My audience may not be your audience. You have your own audience. Be yourself. Be bold. Be confident. Know who you are. What can they do to you? Right? So, leaders today must learn to communicate clearly and make decisions with courage. Avoiding difficult conversations or delaying necessary actions often creates greater problems later. Avoiding difficult conversations, that's the key right there. As an adult, I know, this is the hardest thing as an adult to have difficult conversations. That's the hardest thing. Let's put the leadership to the side as an adult. That's why before you get into leadership, God already prepares you for healing, meaning that you have to get out of survival mode. You have to step into your true authentic self. And where your true authentic self lives, that's where God lives, where your purpose, what you were created to do. So now that you're there, right? Now you have to learn to be emotionally intelligent, to actually speak how you feel. Approach, as it says, leaders today must learn to communicate clearly and make decisions with courage, not emotions. Not what mom and them used to do, not what your pastor told you should be doing, which I've been doing for years. It's the truth. By standing and operating in truth and creating, the decisions, making better decisions and communicating clearly, because you don't want any problems later. So, bold leaders are not reckless. It is faith-filled actions rooted in discernment. That's what bold leaders are. Faith-filled actions rooted in discernment. So I want you to ask yourself, where in your life do you need to communicate more clearly or act more boldly? Now, for the ones that's new here, you always have to bring a notebook anytime that you come to any of my teachings. No matter what platform I'm on, I'm teaching, okay? So, we're going to get into the RPI section, but before we do that, I want you to understand that Deborah's story reminds us that leaders is not about dominance or control. It is about listening to God, walking in obedience, empowering others, and moving with courage. As we move into the RPI reflection, I want you to consider how these leadership principles are showing up in your own life. We're getting ready to close it out here soon. We're going to go over the RPI. So I want to explain to you what RPI is. RPI is something that I created. It's a checks and balance for you. So it started off as the 5 pillars, the 5 healing pillars of the Trinity of Fitness. The Trinity of Fitness is your spiritual, mental, and your physical. So RPI is to acknowledge, release, practice, enter, explore, and empower. Okay, so let's go for A for acknowledge. What are we talking about here? Where have I been called to lead but hesitated because of fear, intimidation, or insecurity? That's what I want you to acknowledge. And then release. Release fear of visibility, fear of judgment, and internalized doubt about authority. Release that. Okay? And then practice. Practice speaking decisively, and trusting spiritual discernment in daily decisions. And then enter explore. Why do leadership feel heavy or lonely to me? That's a question I had to ask myself. Like, God, if you called me to do a thing and you called me in a purpose, why I feel lonely? I feel so lonely. I don't have friends. I just don't have those things anymore. And it's because I had to be set apart. But we're going to talk about that another day. So, what past experiences shaped my view of authority? In power, I lead with wisdom, courage, and clarity. My authority is rooted in obedience to God. Okay? So, I'm going to leave you with your declaration, and then I'm going to give you your homework. But your declaration, I want you to repeat after me. I rise in God-given authority. I lead with clarity, courage, and conviction. I do not shrink my voice or dim my wisdom. I am called, capable, and obedient. So the quote that I have is, leadership begins when obedience outweighs fear. And for your homework, you have a journaling prompt, and then you have a meditation prompt. Where am I being called to lead boldly right now? That's what I want you to journal. Where am I being called to lead boldly right now? And then your meditation, I want you to visualize yourself standing confidently where God has placed you. Visualize yourself just standing there confidently. So if God placed you in a position that, you're the one that everybody come to for advice, yeah, you're the leader. Now I want you to visualize yourself standing there knowing that you are a leader. That's why they come. Now I want you to think about what feedback do you give them when they come, because it is needed. What feedback are you giving them when they come? Are you giving them what they want to hear? Or are you giving them something that they can grow? Remember, you're a leader. You develop other leaders. You develop people to start thinking for themselves. And then I want you to meditate on this. Well, we just said that. Visualize yourself standing confidently where God has placed you. Now, I'm just going to do a recap. We are done with class 1. And the next class, next Sunday, will be class 2, which will be about Esther, courage, strategy, and intercessory leadership. Now, let me explain something to you about the Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp and the Lead Her movement. So if you're new, thank you for joining me today. And like I said, I was going to have this as a podcast, a video podcast, but I said, no, I want to start doing more over on YouTube. I already teach the Power Within Leadership course, so you can check my playlist. And we got another episode coming out tomorrow, which is Leading Without Fear. And that's going to be tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Time here on YouTube, where I teach that Power Within. But I wanted to do it. I usually do YouTube through my streaming one so I can hit all my platforms, but I wanted to get personal today. So get used to coming over here. So the Lead Her movement is all about me teaching you how to lead. Me teaching you how to lead. Lead her. The H plays off the leader, right? And I want you to learn how to lead yourself. I want you to learn how to stand in your purpose and your power and to become the best version of yourself. I want you to learn how to be confident in yourself in every decision that you make, okay? So that's why that's so important. And then the Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp is part of the Coach Nye production company as well. Now, that is for everyone, right? So the Lead Her, of course, is for women, but the Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp is for everyone. This is where I teach everyone how to train themselves spiritually, mentally, and physically. So I'm a personal trainer as well. So over there on Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp, I actually have a workbook coming out. It'll be on my website, tofbootcamp.com. And it's going to be a 12-week workout program, but it's a workbook, because you're also going to get homework that's going to strengthen your mind and strengthen your spirit. So that's why it's a workbook for 12 weeks. And so that'll be out on April 2nd. Okay. And now the Lead Her network that I have coming out, I'll be introducing that to you guys. So just, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead, subscribe, hit the notification so you can get all the updates. And I'm also always on TikTok teaching. I go live over there and I teach. So a lot of the videos don't make it over here. So if you want to follow me there, it's Chat with Coach Nye. You can find me over there. And also I have my book, Trinity Walk to Self-Love. Trinity Walk to Self-Love is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart website. And you can check my website, tofbootcamp.com, and you can check out the different things that I have going on over there in my life coaching session. So you can book a life coaching session. I'm also back to doing 30-minute general life coaching session. The first session is free. You book it under the consultation under my website. So listen, I enjoy talking with you guys, but I've got to get over to TikTok to do one last teaching, and then that'll be it. I will see you guys tomorrow here on YouTube with the Power Within, Leading Without Fear, episode 4. It is a 6-part series. So if you missed any of them, go check it out. Oh, before I forget, my podcast, Chat with Coach Nye is my podcast. My handles, all the handles are the same. Chat with Coach Nye. I'm doing the God's plan through the book of Daniel. Leadership teaching over there as well. So every Thursday. So if you've missed any, it is Chat with Coach Nye, my podcast. So go check it out. I thank you guys for joining. You guys have a great night. If no one told you today, I'm telling you now, I love you and I'm so proud of you. Keep up the good work. Remember to pour into yourself before you pour into others. Coach Nye out.